Ladies and gentlemen, they believed you would crumble, that the weight of their departure would bring you to your knees. They imagined you pleading for their return, but oh, how wrong they were. You stood unwavering, tall and proud, embodying a resilience they never anticipated. The world they built in their minds, where you begged and compromised, shattered the moment you chose self-worth over desperation. You weren't made to grovel, you were made to thrive. This strength they underestimated is now the reason they can't forget you. Unlike others who clung to their words and actions, you chose dignity over humiliation. Each step you took away from them was a testament to your self-respect, a haunting melody that now plays incessantly in their minds. They thought they could replace you with someone more compliant, someone who would pedestalize them without question. But what they found instead was emptiness, a void that no substitute could fill. They realized too late that you were the calm in their chaos. While they drift aimlessly, consumed by the arrogance that blinded them, you have already moved on. You left behind a lesson they were unprepared to learn. True value is irreplaceable. Your absence speaks louder than any confrontation ever could. They're accustomed to people begging for their attention, groveling to stay in your orbit. But you shattered their illusions. You made them confront a reality they never wanted to face, that even they could be left behind. Walking away wasn't just a decision. It was a revolution. It was your declaration that you knew your worth, that no one could make you compromise your identity. But now haunted by the strength you exuded in that moment. You were more than just a presence in their life. You were a reflection of their flaws and insecurities. In letting you go, they avoided facing their own shortcomings. Now, every mirror they look into reminds them of the void you left behind. They expected you to fall apart, to crumble under the weight of their absence. Instead, you found liberation. Their departure became your awakening, your chance to rise above the noise and embrace the freedom of self-discovery. While they try to numb their regret with distractions, they can't escape the truth. Late at night, when the world is quiet, the memory of your unwavering poise and grace returns to haunt them. They thought their silence would diminish you, make you question your worth. Instead, it only exposed their own fragility. Their pride, once their armor, has now become their prison, trapping them in a cycle of regret. The irony of their arrogance is poetic. They pushed you away to assert their strength, yet now they're weakened by your absence. Meanwhile, you transform rejection into a platform for growth and resilience. They'll scroll through old messages, replaying moments they once dismissed, searching for solace. But comfort won't come. Regret is the only companion they'll have in those moments of quiet reflection. Your journey isn't tied to their regrets. You've written your narrative, taking control of a story that no longer includes them. While they remain stuck in the past, you're building a future filled with purpose and possibility. They'll carry the weight of their choices forever, haunted by the truth that you were the real deal. Their regret is a fire they can't extinguish, a constant reminder of what they lost when they let you slip away. And you'll continue to rise, shining brighter with each passing day. The game they thought they were winning turned out to be one they lost. You were never a player in their schemes. You were the exception. The real deal, the kind of person who turns loss into strength and rejection into a journey of self-worth. They underestimated the power of silence. Your refusal to engage in their games became your most potent weapon. Without saying a word, you left a mark deeper than any argument or plea ever could. Now they're left with shadows of their choices. Their pride may have pushed you away, but it's the same pride that now keeps them from reaching out. And so they're stuck, imprisoned by their ego. Meanwhile, your life flourishes. Your success is a reminder to them, an unspoken declaration of your resilience. Each milestone you achieve feels like a silent echo to their missed opportunity. They try to move on, but it's not as easy as they imagine. In every new face, they search for the same spark, the same authenticity, but all they find is a pale imitation of what they had. They used to believe they were irreplaceable, but now they've learned a harsh truth. No one is irreplaceable, not even now. But you remain unforgettable because of the grace with which you walked away. Your absence became the mirror they avoided for so long. It's in losing you that they've come to see themselves where they truly are. And that reflection isn't as flattering as they hoped. They thought they could manipulate you, control the narrative of your story. But you flipped the script. You wrote your own ending, and it's a story of triumph, not defeat. The lessons they've learned from losing you will stay with them forever. It's the kind of regret that doesn't fade, that lingers in quiet moments and loud silences. And while they grapple with the weight of their choices, you continue to rise. Your story is one of resilience, of unwavering self-belief. It's a testament to the power of knowing your worth and never settling for less. They'll tell themselves lies to cope, create narratives to justify their actions. But deep down, they know the truth. They let go of someone irreplaceable, someone real. In every crowd, it'll search for glimpses of you. In every conversation, echoes of your voice. But what they're looking for isn't out there. It's a memory, a moment in time they can't get back. Your strength isn't just in walking away, it's in how you've thrived since. You turned pain into purpose, rejection into fuel. And now, you shine brighter than ever. They'll always wonder what could have been if they'd chosen differently, if they valued you when they had the chance. But those questions will remain unanswered, just like the void you left in their lives. Your story isn't just about them. It's about you, about reclaiming your power and building a life that reflects your true worth. And that, more than anything, is what makes you unforgettable. In the vast, bustling theater of life, there exist countless roles that people play. Some are heroes, some are the villains, but most are merely spectators. And then, there's you, the one who doesn't conform, the one who refuses to follow the script written by others. You're the wild card, the joker in the deck. But being different has its price, doesn't it? The world loves to set expectations. People are expected to fit into neat little boxes, to act in ways that are predictable, manageable, and above all, obedient. When you don't, when you choose to walk your own path, it unsettles them. They can't figure you out, and that scares them. You're not like the others who beg for validation, who plead for acceptance. And that makes them mad, not because you've done anything wrong, but because your very existence challenges their carefully constructed reality. Let's paint a picture. Imagine a crowded room where everyone is scrambling to be heard. They're shouting, pleading, desperate for a scrap of attention or approval. You stand in the corner silent, calm, unbothered. You're not there to beg. You're there because you choose to be, because you have something real to offer. And that's what sets you apart. You're not chasing the spotlight. You asterisk the spotlight. That's the kind of energy that shakes people to their core. But why does this anger them so much? Why does your quiet confidence make them uncomfortable? It's simple. You've exposed their insecurities. Most people derive their worth from external validation. They rely on others to tell them they're enough, that they're valuable. When you don't play that game, when you stand firm in your own worth, it forces them to confront a truth they've been avoiding. Their sense of self is fragile, built on the shaky foundation of others' opinions. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how the ones who demand the most respect are often the least deserving of it? They thrive on power plays, manipulating others into submission. And when you refuse to kneel, when you look them in the eye and say, "I don't need your approval," it's a direct challenge to their authority. It's like holding up a mirror to their own weaknesses. No wonder they're mad. There's a certain freedom in not needing to beg. It's a liberation that few experience because it requires an unshakable sense of self. It's not arrogance, it's authenticity. And authenticity is rare in a world obsessed with appearances. When you're real, when you're true to yourself, it's like a light piercing through the darkness. It's blinding to those who've spent their lives hiding in shadows. But let's be honest, it's not easy being the real deal. It's not easy to stand tall when the world is trying to cut you down. There will be moments of doubt, moments when you question whether it's worth it. The whispers of those who criticize you, who call you mad or difficult, can be deafening. Yet deep down, you know the truth. Their anger isn't about you. It's about them. It's about their inability to control you, their frustration at not being able to box you. The Joker's philosophy, if we can call it that, is often misunderstood. People see chaos, anarchy, a disregard for rules. But at its core, it's about freedom. It's about rejecting a world that tries to dictate who you should be and instead creating your own identity. The Joker doesn't beg. He doesn't seek approval. He simply exists on his own terms. And isn't that what we all crave? To live authentically, unapologetically. When you're the real deal, you don't need to announce it. It's evident in the way you carry yourself and the energy you bring to a room. People may not always understand it, but they'll feel it. And while some will admire you for it, others will resent you. But that's the price of being true to yourself. Not everyone will celebrate your light. Some will try to dim it because it highlights their own darkness. So what do? Do you shrink yourself to make others comfortable? Do you start begging like the rest just to fit in? No, you stand your ground. You stay true to who you are. Because the world doesn't need more conformity, it needs more authenticity. It needs more people who are willing to be real, no matter the cost. Here's the thing, the ones who matter, the ones who truly see you, will never demand that you beg. They'll recognize your worth without you having to prove it. They'll appreciate your authenticity, your strength, your refusal to conform. And as for the others, let them be mad. Let them fume. Their anger is their problem, not yours. In the end, being the real deal isn't about being liked. It's about being respected, even if that respect is grudging. It's about living a life that's true to who you are, not who others want you to be. And yes, it's about challenging the status quo, about shaking up a world that's far too comfortable with mediocrity. So the next time someone tries to make you feel small for not begging, for not playing their games, remember this? Their anger is proof that you're doing something right. It's proof that you're the real deal. And in a world full of pretenders, that's something to be proud of. Stay unshakable, stay authentic, stay you. The Joker wouldn't have it any other way. In a world obsessed with control, your independence is a rebellion. It's a declaration of self-worth, a bold statement that you don't need anyone's permission to exist as you are. And that terrifies people. They build systems, norms, and hierarchies to ensure compliance, to keep everyone playing by the rules. But then there's you, standing outside the lines, unapologetic and untamed. You don't fit their mold, and they can't handle it. They're used to people following the script, bowing down, playing nice, and asking, "Am I good enough?" But you're different. You don't ask for permission. You don't wait for validation. And you certainly don't beg. Why should you? You've built yourself from the ground up. Your confidence doesn't come from their approval. It comes from knowing who you are and what you stand for. It's funny, isn't it? How quickly admiration can turn to resentment when someone can't control you. They'll call you arrogant, difficult, even reckless. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because your independence shines a light on their dependence. They rely on others for their sense of self. You don't. And that's where the clash begins. Let me tell you a story. Picture a chessboard. The pieces move predictably, all under the command of a master. Pawns march forward, knights jump in their calculated L shapes, and kings are protected at all costs. But then, out of nowhere, there's you. You're not a piece on the board. You're the player who flips the whole table over. You're not interested in the game because you've already won by refusing to play. This is why they're mad. Your independence disrupts their order. They can't figure out how to handle someone who doesn't need their approval, who doesn't crumble under pressure. It's like a glitch in their system, an anomaly they can't debug. And instead of questioning their own insecurities, they lash out at you. But here's the secret. Their anger isn't your problem. It's a reflection of their own limitations. They're angry because they see in you what they wish they could be. Unbound, fearless, and self-assured. They've spent their lives trying to fit in, to please, to conform. You've chosen a different path, and it's a path they're too scared to take. When you refuse to beg, when you stand firm in your independence, you're not just rejecting their control. You're rejecting the very idea that your worth is tied to their approval. And that's revolutionary. Most people spend their lives seeking validation from others. They crave the pat on the back, the reassuring nod, that you're doing great. But not you. You've learned that the only validation you need comes from within. Let's talk about resilience. Because independence isn't just about standing tall. It's about withstanding the storms that come your way. And trust me, the storms will come. People will try to tear you down, to make you doubt yourself, to force you back into the box they created. But resilience is your shield. It's what keeps you moving forward when the world tries to hold you back. The Joker's essence captures this perfectly. He's not just a symbol of chaos. He's a symbol of freedom. He doesn't play by the rules because he doesn't recognize their authority. He's free because he's let go of the need to be understood or accepted. And isn't that the ultimate independence? To live without the chains of expectation. Of course, freedom isn't without its costs. Independence can be lonely at times. There will be moments when you feel isolated, when the weight of standing alone feels too heavy. But those moments are fleeting. Because in the silence, you'll hear something most people never do, the sound of your own voice, unfiltered and true. And let's not forget the people who get it. The ones who see your independence not as a threat, but as inspiration. They're rare, but they're out there. They'll respect you for who you are, not for who they want you to be. And when you find them, you'll realize that you've been building a life worth living, a life on your own terms. So let them be mad. Let them call you names, let them misunderstand you. Their opinions don't define you. What defines you is your courage to stand apart, to be true to yourself, to live a life that's authentically yours. And if that makes you a rebel, so be it. In the end, independence isn't just about refusing to beg, it's about refusing to settle. It's about knowing your worth and refusing to compromise it for anyone. It's about choosing freedom over conformity, truth over acceptance. And yes, it's about being the joker in a world full of pawns. Stay strong, stay independent, stay you. The world may not always understand it, but the right people will. And that's all that matters. There's something about a person who knows their worth that unsettles others. It's not arrogance or pride, but a quiet, unshakable confidence that doesn't require validation. It's the way you walk into a room and don't need to announce yourself. It's the way you refuse to grovel, to beg, to plead for what you deserve. And that's precisely why they're angry. You didn't play the game by their rules, and in their eyes, that makes you dangerous. Picture this, a society built on hierarchies, on expectations, on everyone knowing their place. Most people fall in line, content to seek approval, to climb the ladder one painstaking rung at a time. But then there's you. You don't ask for permission to be seen, to be heard, to exist. You skip the ladder altogether. And for the ones who've spent their lives clinging to those rungs, your refusal to conform feels like a personal insult. But it's not about that, is it? It never was. You've always known you were different. While others scrambled for attention, you learned to thrive in your own company. While they sought validation, you built yourself up from within. It's not that you think you're better than anyone else. It's that you refuse to measure your worth by someone else's yardstick. And that's what they can't understand. They've spent so long trying to fit into a mold that they can't fathom someone breaking it entirely. Their anger, their frustration, their resentment, it's all a reflection of their own insecurities. They're not mad at you for knowing your worth. They're mad because your confidence exposes their doubts. You've held up a mirror, and they don't like what they see. It's easier to project that discomfort onto you than to confront the truth about themselves. Let's go deeper. Why is it that people struggle so much with someone who refuses to beg? It's because begging is the language they understand. It's a transaction. I'll grovel, and in return, you'll grant me a scrap of your approval. But when you step outside that dynamic, when you say, I don't need your approval to know my worth, you've disrupted the entire system. They don't know how to respond because you've taken away their power. The world is full of people who thrive on control. They're the ones who set the rules, who decide who gets to rise, and who must stay in their place. And when someone like you comes along, someone who refuses to play by their rules, it's a threat to everything they've built. They can't handle the idea that their power might not be as absolute as they'd like to believe. Think about the Joker, not the caricature of chaos, but the essence of his philosophy. The Joker isn't bound by society's rules. He doesn't conform, doesn't seek approval, doesn't care about being understood. And while that scares people, it's also why he's so compelling. He's free in a way most people can only dream of being. You don't have to agree with his methods to see the truth in his perspective. Freedom comes from letting go of the need to be validated by others. But freedom isn't easy. It's not for the faint of heart. When you choose to live authentically, to know your worth without begging for it to be recognized, you're going to face resistance. People will call you names. They'll label you as arrogant, selfish, or too much. Not because those labels are true, but because they're easier to throw around than admitting your own insecurities. It's important to remember that their opinions don't define you. The truth is, the people who matter, the ones who truly see you, will never demand that you beg. They'll recognize your worth without you having to prove it. And the rest? Let them talk. Let them be angry. Their frustration is their burden to carry, not yours. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, the cost of being the real deal. It's not a path for everyone. It's lonely at times. When you refuse to conform, you'll find that not everyone can walk beside you. Some will fall away, unable to handle the intensity of your light. And that's okay. The ones who stay, who stand with you in your truth, are the ones who truly matter. Being the real deal also means facing your own doubts. There will be moments when the world's criticism feels overwhelming. Moments when you wonder if it would be easier to just give in, to play by their rules. But in those moments, remember this. The very fact that they're trying so hard to bring you down is proof of your power. People don't try to silence what isn't threatening. Your independence, your confidence, your refusal to beg. It's a direct challenge to their control, and they're scared. So how do you keep going? How do you stay true to yourself in a world that wants you to shrink? You focus on your why. Why do you refuse to beg? Why do you stand tall in your worth? Because you know that life is too short to live on anyone else's terms. You know that compromising your truth isn't living, it's surviving. And you didn't come this far just to survive. Let's talk about resilience. Independence requires it. Knowing your worth isn't just about standing tall when things are easy. It's about holding your ground when the storm hits. And the storm will come. There will be criticism, rejection, and moments of doubt. But resilience is your armor. It's what keeps you moving forward when the world tries to hold you back. And let's not forget the beauty of it all. Knowing your worth, living authentically, refusing to beg, it's a gift, not just to yourself, but to others. You become a beacon for those who are still finding their way. Your courage inspires them to step into their own power, break free from the chains of expectation. And that's how change happens, one person at a time, refusing to conform. So let them be mad. Let them misunderstand you. Their anger is a reflection of their own struggles, not yours. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your worth. You don't need to prove yourself to those who refuse to see you. What matters is that you see yourself, that you know your own value, and that you refuse to settle for anything less than what you deserve. In the end, being the real deal isn't about being liked. It's about being respected, even if that respect is grudging. It's about living a life that's true to who you are, not who others want you to be. And yes, it's about challenging the status quo without shaking up a world that's far too comfortable with mediocrity. Stay unshakable, stay authentic, stay you. The Joker wouldn't have it any other way, and neither should you.